Yo, what is good everybody? Today is a banging SERUM bass tutorial, I hope. And we are going to be creating this chunky bass right here. So if you like the sound of that, stick around. I'm going to show you how to make it using no third-party plugins or effects, just SERUM and the wavetables that come with SERUM, and that is literally it. This is a variation of this bass growl patch here, which you can find in our pack, Vulcan for SERUM. But for today's tutorial, I thought I'd add a little bit more variation and spice and turn it from a growl into like a chunky rhythmic bass. So yeah. First up, we'll get the sub and oscillators right before we map 9 things to LFO1. Sub, we want a triangle. First oscillator, we want Resi Mess 4, and you can find that under spectral. B is gonna be ICANN has kick, which I think is in digital. Yeah, where is it? Yeah. Check out this lovely sound. Sweet, we'll change the views, click, click. First up, oscillator A is gonna be down 4 octaves. Second one's gonna be up 1 octave. And sub should also drop 2 octaves as well. Lovely sound. Let's move on to LFO1. This is gonna be over a bar. No, wrong way. There we go. And on trigger. I mean, you can draw whatever shape you want from here, but to get that sound which I played at the start of the video, we are going to be creating something like this. Remember, double clicks to make your points when drawing LFOs. And that is roughly the shape. We could fine tweak that later on, which, let's be honest, I'll probably do anyway. So yeah. And let's map this LFO to 7 different things on this screen and then 2 in the effect. This LFO is carrying the team, that's for sure. First one, click, hold and drag to wavetable of Os A. I'm gonna crank this up just a little bit around 8, 9 o'clock and then back this off. For modulation of Os A, it's gonna be asymmetrical plus and minus. And click, hold and drag, we wanna carry over the entire kind of modulation range. Level, we're gonna leave it. Second oscillator is gonna have FM from A, which is off the screen, but I'm clicking FM from A. Also gonna be brought up around the 9, 10 o'clock position. Click, hold, drag to map, and this is gonna go almost all the way up. And also gonna map the LFO to the level of Os B as well. Bring that all the way down and ramp up just like that. And filter to also add movement to the space. We want multi high pass notch. HN12. Nice. This is gonna be the filter for oscillator A and B. Reduce the cutoff and click, hold and drag to map it to LFO1. Drop it there and bring this back maybe just between 12 and 1, maybe slightly here as well. Resonance, we want a lot of resonance. It's a very resonant-y sound until it gets slammed through the distortion and OTT, which helps kind of take away that resonance just a little bit because it's compressing the absolute crap out of it. I'm also going to map LFO to the frequency. Move this up around here and around here. And also going to be mapping it to the sub as well. Going to move the sub level down, click, hold, drag and drop on the sub. I'm still not making a great sound yet, mostly because oscillator A is down -4 and ICANN has kick is literally playing nothing really. But we will adjust that with the next LFO. So for LFO2, we want also a bar. Also trigger, we want to try create like a cliff shape. So double click there. If you can imagine the octave starting down and then rising up till its normal octave pitch and then dropping back down again, that's kind of what we're going after. So click, hold, drag it onto octave. We don't want it the entire range because at the moment it's going to +4 octaves. So we need to make sure the octave for Os A is sounding decent. So click, hold, drag this down. Little bit of a growly sound now is coming through. Os A is feeding through the filter, it's moving. Os B is yet to make a sound really. So adjusting Os B's wavetable. I'm going to tweak that later, but I'm roughly going to set it. And lastly, on this face of SERUM before we move on to the effects is the last LFO. Not super crucial, but it just adds a little bit of randomness and spice, if you will. I'm going to leave this on off. We're going to up the rate to 1/32. So it's going to play ridiculously fast. We're going to turn the phase all the way down on Os B, map it to this, and bring it up just a little bit. Like I said, just to add some randomness, and also going to map this to the coarse pitch. So you can hear the pitch going back and forth quite quickly on Os-B. Sounds like a very bad laser. So yeah, just a little bit of variation in spice. We're kind of getting the bass sound now, just need to add some effects to make it absolutely pop. So we head over to the effects tab and of course, hyper/dimension expander up first. Leave the rate, leave the detune, bring the mix down just a little bit and also the size down on dimension and mix up a little bit. So this is just to make it a little bit wider. Next up is distortion. I'm gonna leave this distortion module on tube. It's one of my favorites inside of Serum. I mean, how much distortion you want is up to you. Absolutely wrecked or just a little bit. We're gonna go with the middle ground of both. Nice. Gotta add phaser next. We're gonna adjust the depth and the frequency. You can set the frequency roughly to whatever main pitch you're gonna use for your bass. So if I'm holding the F key, kind of resonant-y, or I could choose like a different harmonic by upping the frequency. Whichever sounds good. Mix up to you entirely how much you want. Whether you want that full sound coming through or you just want a little bit. I'm just gonna add just a little bit for the time being. Next up is EQ. We're gonna add a couple of notches to the sound to make it move even more. And this is the last two LFO mappings. Yes, they're from LFO 1. We're gonna leave both the Qs. We're gonna up the gain just a little bit. Like I said, gonna create a couple of little notches here. And the LFO mappings are going to frequency. So this one and this one. First one can start quite low. Second one can also start just a little bit lower than the default. Entirely up to you where you want those sweet spots to be with the frequency. Next up is adding OTT, which will squish the sound together, and then we can come back to these notches and see which areas of the frequency spectrum sounds best. So, gonna add a compressor, move it after the EQ, turn on multiband, here's our OTT. Oh, redlining a little bit. So like I said, heading back into the EQ notches. We haven't really got it in a sweet spot at the moment. It's just adding too much to it. So yeah, we can adjust it. Kind of like that sound. We can make little dips as well. Yeah, I like that sound. That's nice and sick. That's fundamentally the sound done. A few things I'd focus on to tweak it even further would be the wavetables, the modulation, and like I said, the notches, but we kind of covered that, and the phaser mix. Nice. Yeah, like I said, wavetables. And that, my friends, is how you make a huge heavy bass inside of Serum. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace! Yo, what's good, everybody?